Great listener line. This is Darren in Rhode Island. I had a surf adjacent story for you guys. You were talking about Taylor Swift the other day briefly, but this brought to mind a funny situation a friend got into. Watchville, Rhode Island, super old money, waspy town. The house Taylor Swift purchased, we used to actually pool hop there back in the day. Can't really pull that off any longer. You'd probably get shot. But she had come to town, and one of my friends runs a stand-up paddleboard surf instruction company, and my other friend was an instructor with that group. And he spent the whole day giving an instruction to Taylor Swift. The funniest part is he doesn't give a shit about pop culture, had no idea who she was. Some people told him after he was completely nonplussed. It was pretty awesome. I don't know if she had handlers around. I'm not sure. She must have. But anyway, this guy had no idea. He's a cruisy guy. He's a good surfer. And the funniest part is his name is Taylor as well. So that's the story. Take care, guys. Keep up the work. Later.
Swift, SUPs.
We have people everywhere, David Lee Scales.
We really do.
People everywhere. We can get to the bottom of any kind of story, be it celebrity, tech, science.
I feel anything, like if
medical.
If any celebrity at least hits the water, we're aware of it. We know that much.
I feel that too, but even beyond the celebrity world, I mean, I feel we can pretty much solve any medical emergency. I mean, as long as we have a week, right? We put it out there so. 1 week, next week, medical emergency solved.
You're absolutely right. Because over the course of the years, we have kind of examples from every segment of life of people who have chimed in who we have no idea. It's like a professor of whatever at an important university who happens to know exactly what we're talking about and educate us on how we got it wrong, basically.
Everything from the most, simple pop culture stuff to the most advanced nuclear science stuff. Totally. It's all here.
Pretty amazing, pretty diverse audience, I'd say.
That's true.
So I'm just wondering, after our last week's show, if you are ready to write your retraction
about
Pam Anderson not loving Kelly Slater.
It's coming today. It is coming today. Her great love. Not only Kelly Slater, what is the direct quote? Kelly Slater was my great love.
Yeah, I was going to film it and then publish it. So I had the exact, or play it for you. So I had the exact quote.
Yes.
But essentially what she said was, yeah, I'm apprehensive. Should I give my opinion first or what she said first? I'll give what she said first.
Yes.
She was dating a bunch of people essentially. And she was new to LA. So it was all just kind of like coming at her fast, and she was living fast. She had discovered her sexuality is kind of how she put it, because she had come from such a conservative background. But Kelly Slater, they met on the set of Baywatch, and that was the first real love. Everything else was fleeting. Everything else was experimental. Kelly felt like love. And she had met Tommy Lee in a club on a given night, but had already been dating Kelly, and then was planning to actually go to Florida and meet Kelly's parents. But her and Tommy Lee got married. They got married within 4 days of their initial meeting. So speaking of fast, hot, and heavy, that happened real fast, hot and heavy, and interrupted the love story that would have been.
Do you think, this is so packed with what ifs, right? What if Pamela Anderson had never met Tommy Lee? Would her and Kelly have gotten married? Would her and Kelly have had a little next generation of surfer? I mean, imagine if they would have gotten married and had a little kid. That kid would be likely on the championship tour right now.
To be perfectly honest, I think Pamela would have had some more stability in her life had that happened.
Yeah. I mean,
and the funny thing is, she said, I was dating a bunch of people. Kelly was dating a bunch of girls. They cut to Kelly like on stage, what looks like the Triple Crown after he won some event. And he says, I just want to thank all my girlfriends. I want to thank my girlfriend.
Oh, Kelly Slater getting called out. Who ever would have guessed that Kelly Slater was a great Lothario?
I think everybody.
Really? I only hear stories of Kelly's kind of, I don't know, that he is not a Casanova, as it were. I mean, of course you don't have to be when you're Kelly Slater. You have people coming at you, but yeah, I don't. How much game do you think Kelly Slater has? Let's put it that way.
I think he has the ultimate game.
Well, I mean, he's Kelly Slater, I suppose.
Yeah, but the fact that he plays it so close to the vest is an indicator that he's got ultimate game.
You think so?
Yeah, for sure. The dude who's out there bragging is the one who, is lying essentially. But Kelly, clearly, if Kelly didn't have celebrity status, he would still be crushing it with the women because he's so good looking. But the fact that he's athletic, the fact that he's the best in the world at something that women tend to already kind of view as a sexy sport, and then the fact that he has wealth, the fact that he has celebrity, he's absolutely killing it for sure. And the fact that he doesn't wear that on his sleeve and he keeps it super low key is an indicator.
But don't you think if you were a up and coming star, let's say, or a pop sensation, or I don't know, some brand, that Kelly would not bore you to tears? That you would say,
no, I don't think he'd bore you to tears at all.
Really?
But well, I think he bored Pam to tears. That's the thing.
That's what I'm saying. Is Tommy swept in with some flair, right? And was like, so long, Kelly. I mean, exactly proving my point, I do believe, is that Kelly had her, right? Kelly and Pam were in, from all intents and purposes, for all intensive purposes, a loving relationship. And that was her dude, right? Imagine. And it would have been the first blushes of love. I mean, I think at that point, right, if the story serves, they dated for like a year or a year plus, right?
I want to say
2 years. So
off and on while they were all dating other people too. Because
sure.
They were in their early mid-20s.
Sure. I mean, I guess so. I guess Kelly's lack of commitment phobia, I will say, probably wrecked it for him.
So I'm thinking you haven't watched the doc yet.
No.
You haven't. Okay, good. Okay, so none of this is on Kelly. I hate to tell you, as much as it's better for Beach Grit if it is on Kelly. Pam reveals really quickly and like strangely matter-of-factly with very little emotion about childhood trauma, like sexual trauma that she had, a couple of incidents.
Sure.
And so that primed her for how she obviously viewed men through her teens and early adulthood, and probably still to this day. But Kelly's kind of, she was looking for bad boys essentially, and Kelly wasn't as much of a bad boy as a bunch of the Hollywood guys were, particularly Tommy Lee. And so she needed a bit more intensity probably than Kelly was bringing. But I would argue Kelly dodged a bullet, and Pam would have benefited from, I dare say, stability with Kelly. Even though he's not stable, he's more stable than Tommy Lee, or he at least provides, let's say, a level of, I don't know, not as much volatility as Tommy Lee provided. You know what I mean? And so I think that would have benefited her. But to your point, she needed intensity. She needed volatility to feel, because her kind of view of love was so skewed, damaged, whatever.
I mean, I hear you. I'm just saying that imagine the progeny that we could be enjoying right now instead of Kelly Slater. There could be Kelly Jr. He would have been perfect because let's be honest, he would have been neglected by dad. So he would have had to go forge his own path, but with the skills of both Pam and Kelly under his belt.
See, I'm going to take the opposite path. I think they all hit the road together. Pam and the kid go with Kelly. So there's no neglect. It's all just footloose and fancy free on the road, winning world titles along the way.
And then now we'd have Kelly Jr. We wouldn't have to see Kelly version 1.0. We could be watching Kelly version 2.0, the update that we all so desperately need.
It would be Kelly 2.0 versus Kelly 1.0 at Pipe right now today.
In waist high little runners.
Man, if we ever get a time machine, I know the very first stop I'm making.
I'm
going to make this right all happen.
There. I mean, it'd be easy because you would just know exactly where the club is that she met Tommy Lee, and you would just go get right in the way, right there.
Pick a fight with Tommy out front.
Spill a drink on Pam, force her into the bathroom to change, done and dusted.
Bring Kelly with me, have him lick her face instead of Tom lick her face.
Precisely. Problems all solved.
Are you going to watch the doc?
For sure.
Okay.
No. Oh yeah, I am actually. I am.
Okay.
I am purely because last night flipping through, the wife said, "Ooh, I'm definitely watching that," and so that means I will also watch it.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I don't know if I'm going to finish it.
Yeah, I mean, do you get what you need to get after the first 40 minutes, whatever?
No, I haven't gotten anything that I wanted to get, actually. I mean, other than this Kelly story, I suppose, but I expected so much more. I don't know why I thought she was going to be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think she's been kind of an open book, right? Like, I don't think there's
not that much to read.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
I mean, it's corn-fed Canada girl goes to Hollywood and lives fast and then comes through the other side, right? I mean, is that the arc?
Yeah, but we already know that arc. We've known that arc for 20 years. There's nothing beyond just that little story right there, you know? I mean, the interesting part of it, which we also know, is just what we did as a culture to her caricature.
Yeah.
And the way that, you know, it's more a reflection of our culture, the way that we kind of
just totally sexualizing a person and having her only be a sex object.
Yeah, which wasn't the first time. I mean,
Sure.
society
Marilyn
had done
Monroe,
that. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But she as an individual is just not that interesting. She's not that smart. She doesn't have that much going on. So like I watched it wanting, because this is like Pam in her own story, essentially, in her own words, essentially. And there wasn't anything interesting beyond just what we already know. And so the angle that she took was kind of feeling victimized by society doing that to her, you know, and by being hypersexualized. But throughout all of the interviews that she's doing, and by the way, they're only interviewing her. They're not interviewing any of her friends or family.
I love that.
Exactly.
I love it.
So it's just her in her own words, basically.
Sure.
But in all of her interviews, she is wearing a see-through white flowy dress with no bra and a thong that you can see the thong when she's walking through the yard because it's backlit, you know. And she's, by the way, having a conversation with her grown son with her shawl that's she's wearing over the thing, but her boobs sticking out, kind of, you can see her nipples while she's talking to her kid. And we're watching it going, who even talks to their kid that way? And by the way, if you're complaining about the way that kind of society kind of treated you and saw you, you're still propagating the same image. And she talks about 20 years ago that she played into the image a lot. And I feel like, gosh, she's kind of still playing into the image. And then she continues to say, you know, nobody would offer me good roles because I entered the scene through Playboy and then continued with Baywatch and then chose to do Barbed Wire as a film. Nobody took me seriously as an actress. And I'm thinking to myself, if you had talent as an actress, you would have opportunity to do those things. Scorsese's not going to call if he doesn't see any talent in Barbed Wire or in Baywatch. But if you would presumably have more opportunity and access to anything if you just showed a modicum of talent. But I haven't seen it. And I'm watching the documentary trying to kind of glean something of interest.
But nothing.
And there's nothing. It's really, I thought it was going to be a sympathetic view. And I'm sure the filmmakers kind of intended it to be. It's just there's not a lot there that's interesting.
Well, maybe I'm not going to watch it then.
I'd be curious to hear your thoughts. I mean, we tend to differ on.
I'm headed in. I'm headed in. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to still believe that she and Kelly were the perfect love match.
Oh, I love that she at least discussed him, you know?
Yeah.
And she discussed him more than she discussed Mario Van Peebles or Dean Cain or whoever the other dudes were that she had love affairs with, you know?
Mario Van Peebles. Good.
I know. But did you remember she was married to Kid Rock too?
Oh yeah, I do. I do remember that. Kid Rock was like the cut rate Tommy Lee at that point for her.
I mean, he still is, right?
I mean, yeah, it's Kid Rock. Come on.
I have no idea how almost any modern musician has a fan base nowadays. I mean, his music is awful. He looks like just such a scumbag. What is there to like there?
There's the Midwest. There is Detroit.
Yeah, you're right, I suppose. Well, hey, more important than any of that gossip is we have the first event of the 2023 WSL season underway. Day one took place.
Is it going to happen again today? I have to click live if it goes. If you see it go, let me click the live chat up.
I can.
Has there been a call yet?
No call yet. I think it comes through in the next 10 minutes, though.
Yeah.
I'll check it on my phone while we're recording.
I was looking at a Surfline this morning and it looked smaller than yesterday, but cleaner.
Okay. Well, next call's in 9 minutes and 24 seconds. So I'll check throughout.
They sure do have a, let's just be honest, an awful forecast for this thing.
Well, thankfully it's called the Pipe Pro and not the Pipe Masters, because it doesn't feel like a Masters event whatsoever.
No, well, it's the bummer is that I committed today before coming on the show. I thought for every negative thing I say about the World Surf League and this event thus far, I'm going to say something positive as well.
Okay. I like it.
Do you like it?
I do like it.
So I will say, of the 3 pipeline events this year that we have seen, right? We've only seen one day of this one, but we have the backdoor shootout and we have the Pipe Masters, right?
Correct.
By far and away, the best of them was the backdoor shootout because of the waves, of course. So now we have the Pipe Masters versus the Billabong Pro Pipeline.
Correct.
And I'm waiting to see still. Day one was not good. Let's be honest, right?
Correct.
But I'm waiting to see, hopefully, and I know the forecast is bad, but they get a bit of a pulse because having the, I don't know, I want the Pro Pipeline to be better than the Pipe Masters this year.
Just because you were anti-Pipe Masters?
Well, just I was anti the format changes and all that. It felt like a real miss all over. And I was even more angry, to be honest. I got my hackles back up raised a couple days ago when I saw only on Stab the announcement of the Triple Crown winners.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, where they took a thing that used to be interesting and made it so pointless as to it only being on one, like only Stab wrote about it and nobody else in the entire world cared.
Yeah, it really does feel like they've botched that franchise.
Badly botched, both Pipeline and the Triple Crown franchise.
You're right, though. It is because Stab's partnership with Vans that they are now the only outlet discussing it.
Yeah.
And they're not, the problem is that it isn't a lead story for them. You know, it's like, even in the Vans sponsored pickup episode that they're doing weekly on the North Shore, which I think they just wrapped, it's not the lead story, really.
Yeah.
It's like 10 minutes into the video piece, then they start talking about it, because they were talking about the Eddie, by the way, which was deserved first billing.
Totally.
You know?
But yeah, but them taking something, Stab as, I guess, as agency for Vans really took a premier quality thing. And I mean, I think for all, again, intents and purposes, wrecked it.
Yeah, it's not, I don't think it's Stab's fault. And I don't think it's Vans' fault for partnering with Stab. It's Vans' fault for making it a digital version. Because let's be real, any of those waves surfed, we would have seen without them hosting it under a Triple Crown banner.
Yes.
Right. And in fact, we probably would have seen them more readily without having to go to the Vans Triple Crown of Surfing's website. So the fact that they just took what already was existing, which are free surf clips, hoarded them, and then created a fake kind of event around them. Yeah, competition around them, actually put limitations on the virality of the clip. Whereas in the past, we never would have seen the best surfers in the world battling out in an event format at Haleiwa unless Vans organized it into a contest.
Yep.
So they were providing something for us that we never would have had access to before when it was an actual contest. Now it's just creating parameters around what we already had access to for free. And so it feels really forced.
Silly. But all to say, back to the Pro Pipeline, yesterday's Pro Pipeline. The good thing I'm going to say is the WSL has a great production team, right? Like the camera angles, all of these kinds of things. I think when the waves aren't good, it's easy just to throw all kinds of stuff at the WSL, and deservedly, I think. But the production team itself, the technical aspect of it is really, they put on a good show.
Well, except for their new technology wearable.
Apple Watch. Well, now I can say a bad thing since I said a good thing. What an utter junk show. What a utter junk show from every way that was rolled out. If I was any kind of brand, there's not one. Would you trust the World Surf League to spruik your goods?
without doing my due diligence, I would, because they are
it
the
is
quote
such a
World
clown
Surf
show.
League.
From Jesse Miley Dyers, who's now chief of sport, which is ridiculous. I can't believe that. I mean, oh, I said two bad things now.
Well, we'll get to that. Save that one.
Okay.
Maybe we could sprinkle in a positive thing in the middle.
Good. Okay.
But let's start with Leo. So obviously there was a news story. I don't think we even discussed it on air, but it was kind of on all the various websites that WSL had done a partnership with Apple. And presumably there is an exchange of money, but it's all under the guise of, we are going to implement a technology for all of our athletes to wear on their wrists so that they could have real-time heat updates, the timeline, how much time is left, the scores, the priority, all that sort of stuff. So this was the first event and the very first day, by the way, that they were implementing this new technology. Here's what one Leonardo Fioravanti had to say about the watch after his heat win.
Yeah, and I just want to say, I mean, our freaking watches weren't working, and that's pretty heavy. Like, my watch wasn't working, and nothing to take away from Apple or WSL. I mean, what they're doing is great. They're trying to bring in some technology to our world. But if my watch doesn't work from start to finish, and I got to ask for time, like I've been used to, having the time on me at all times in heats, and we're fighting for our careers. So I hope they figure it out, because my watch didn't work from start to finish. So that's pretty good.
Man, this would be a good time for a Veyer watch ad right now.
I mean, it sure would. Come on, Veyer, come on back.
They are back.
Oh, sweet.
But not officially today, but yes, in general, they're back.
Great. Well, buy a Veyer, Leo, paddle out with a Veyer. It actually tells time. But what an absolute disaster, and then Abeli almost missing his heat because his watch didn't tell time.
I didn't know that.
Oh, you didn't see that one too?
No.
Oh, Caio Abeli in his after heat presser also said he almost missed his heat because he thought his watch was going to tell time, and his watch only starts working when you're in the water, and also loses service when you're underwater. And so if you're duck diving, it'll cut out. And
oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I don't think it could be put any other way. An abject disaster. The World Surf League looking as foolish. Like, I sometimes want to think we play too hard, right? We play too hard with the World Surf League. It is a clown show. It is an utter clown show. What they do, again, good broadcast, right? They figured out how to really put on a nice show, something nice again. But the clown show underneath from Eric Logan's, it's just, they're goofballs. They're straight goofballs.
So
Keystone Cops.
Remember, what I wonder though is, I feel like it's a money grab. Like, they are looking for money. They're looking for partnerships and sponsorships. And so they come up with concepts that they pitch to, whether it was Facebook 5 years ago, $30 million deal, that Facebook was going to be the streaming partner. The very first event failed. In the opening minutes of the very first stream, completely failed, broken technology, broken feed. We couldn't. And then we never hear anything about it again. It's like,
it didn't exist. Yeah.
Did Facebook make good and still pay you the 30 mil for the streaming rights, or what happened with that money? Presumably they didn't, but they never even attempted to run another event.
Oh, no.
It was just, we're doing this for 3 years, tons of news, tons of press, and then one event crashes, nothing works. And I have a feeling this might be the same thing, where it's, if you can't, the technological integration, which, by the way, Facebook has no problem integrating technology into new platforms. Apple, zero problem integrating technology into new platforms all the time.
And it's not even a new product, right? It's not like Apple was unveiling a brand new thing. I'm sure the watch works fine, right? I'm sure in the WSL World Surf League's hand, it turns to, junk.
Well, that's where I'm identifying is, wherever the handoff of the baton is into the WSL platform is clearly where the breakdown is, because Apple doesn't have that same breakdown with any other partnership that I ever have seen, nor does Facebook. You know what I mean?
No.
The technology exists. It's just putting the technology integrated with this event that they're doing. The event is what's failing it. And by the way, I agree with what you're saying about the broadcast in general, but there is still tech failures. Like, the sound was not working for me throughout the afternoon. I had to kind of log on and try multiple times, and I thought it was my device. But then when they came back on, Joe Turpel apologized for them having technical difficulties. And this isn't in the middle of the ocean, by the way.
This isn't G-land.
No,
This
is Hawaii.
The thing that again continues to, man, I'm going to run out of good things to say. I'm going to run out of good things to say. What can I say good?
AJ McCord, is that her name?
Oh yeah, she was great.
The new broadcaster,
yeah,
fantastic,
great, and
not brand new. She was in one event last year,
yes,
or maybe a CS event or something, but she's fantastic.
And Laura Enovar continues to become like the best they have.
She's amazing.
Yeah, totally. I mean, like, okay, so there's two good things now. I don't understand, and we say this every time, I suppose. It baffles me. It confounds me. Surfing is a sport with natural pauses in the game where there is plenty of time to go broadcast advertisements without missing one thing.
Right.
It's like they purposefully, like, there was one I was watching and somebody was just started to paddle for a wave and let's cut to commercial, right? And it's pointless commercials too. It's
and like it's redundant.
Yeah, redundant, same commercials you've seen. So that you're telling me there's no director in the booth who can say, pause, he's going to catch a wave. We see, out the back, there's going to be a little flurry here. And then we're going to have, 3 minutes where we'll be able to do whatever we want. I mean,
yeah.
Are you kidding me that there's no director who can watch in real time and say, keep airing. Now let's go to commercial.
Well, and the ads aren't effective, by the way. So by virtue of making them super redundant, by the end of the season, we are never going to buy a BF Goodrich tire or a Jeep or whatever it is, because we have had it the same exact commercial, not a different version of the same kind of campaign, just the same exact commercial bombarded over and over and over. So if they integrated, they could be just slightly creative and integrate the ads a little bit more organically, and have an inset. Why not have the live stream inset on screen during the redundant ad? That would be an easy fix.
I mean, it's just, yeah, like the fact that they can't have sorry.
No, it's okay if you gotta go.
No. The fact that they can't have that they clearly don't have a director, but they have to. They have to be throwing to the guys in the booth and throwing here and throwing here. But the fact that they just can't, that seems like the tertiary goal is to actually broadcast surfing.
I think
like primary is to have the ads run. Secondary is to have some kind of commentary where we have to see the commentator's face, or down to the beach interview, or it's like on their chart, on their whiteboard, it's broadcasting live surfing is honestly like 5th or 6th. It comes way after the post-heat interview with the surfer.
You're absolutely right. And even lower than that is running the best surfers in the best waves in the world.
Yeah. I mean, that's not even on the whiteboard at all.
It's not, which is a real shame. And I've talked to, over the years now, I have a dozen, let's say, examples of people who have attempted to do business with them. And without giving exact examples and putting people on blast, it's verifies everything that you and I are saying. You and I are giving broad brushstrokes, but it is very evident that it is a clown show and that the attempts at the money grabs are egregious.
Yeah. I mean, it's laughable. And I suppose that they have so siloed themselves. Again, I mean, this seems like just a groundhog. Oh, speaking of, is today Groundhog's Day?
I have no idea, but I saw a little infographic about how wrong Puxatawny Phil is.
Ooh, Puxatawny Phil. He's like us. Puxatawny Phil is the animal version of us.
He is. He just throws stuff at the wall every time. Like, if I do a good enough song and dance, nobody will notice the stats. If I'm cute. But he's literally wrong more often than he's right.
I mean, I feel you, Puxatawny, but yeah, like it just does feel like Groundhog's Day. Like they cannot get it. Like watching that kind of pipe, and I know you can say, oh, it's not their fault. They don't control the weather, right? But my goodness, there has been pumping surf. It feels more often than not this North Shore winter pumping, right? One of the best maybe North Shores in recent memory, at the very least. Whoa. And you're not dexterous enough to be able to figure out how to get your surfers in one of those windows, instead of having this nope, we do it in, this is our window and this is when we got to do it. You're not smart enough to figure out a workaround.
That's the problem. So that is the problem, the cart before the horse. Like the horse should be run best surfers in the best waves in the world. And then you structure the tour around that, right? So there's fewer surfers, you're a lot more mobile, all that sort of thing. Because I understand 10 years ago, 15 years ago, where, yeah, you have to get a permit for a certain window and you're stuck to that window. And there's all these kind of limitations. We don't have all those limitations now. With live streaming that's cheap and easy and all that sort of stuff, you can redesign all of it. And it should just be a roving 12,
Did you
and
see? Oh,
and all of the
wrong.
broadcast team is remote.
Hold on, I just have to click live. We're
Oh, is
on
it?
again for day 2, David Lee Scales.
Look at you, man. You're up to speed with the tech more than I am.
How exciting is that?
Starts in 10 minutes, but it is officially on with the women. Round
Yep.
one, Tati versus Caroline Marks versus Teresa Bonvelo.
Yeah, bon voyage.
Yeah.
Well,
So
yeah. Did you? Not to cut you off here, but did you read? I mean, JP Curry is back in fine form. I was so happy to read an event. I love Beach Grit for. We've had a run, I do believe, of the event wrap being better than the event itself, or the day wrap being better than the day typically. So going from Long Tom to JP Curry, who is carrying the mantle beautifully of, yeah, phenomenal wrap on day one. But anyway, did you see his suggestion inside there? It is that the heats should be 15 minutes, no priority, the best 3 waves. And you run the entire thing on one day. It's just, you pick the best day of your window, the day it's actually going to have good surf. 15 minutes, 15-minute heats, 3 surfers in the water, no priority. So you're going to have fights, you're going to have drop-ins, there's going to be all kinds. It'll be like hot action from start to finish.
Well, honestly, if the WSL goes full bore into what they already are, which is an entertainment group, you know what I mean? Like the WWE at a certain point embraced the E. They're like, okay, we're not actual wrestling. This is entertainment. So let's go ahead and just be a farce of wrestling.
Yeah.
That's honestly what the WSL is doing. They're slowly kind of walking backwards into being the entertainment of surfing, not at all reflective of a real world surf experience. And so, yes, they should then do that. They should embrace it whole hog.
I mean, well, that would be way better, right? That would be like, I mean, it would be, a WWE Rumble.
Totally. So, by the way, so that is a good time to discuss Jessie Miley Dyer promoted to World Surf League's chief of sport.
And celebrating herself in it, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is so ridiculous to me. Like, you had a fake title, you get another fake title, you get promoted to another fake title, and then you really put it on blast to everybody, with everybody congratulating her in the comments of like, it's not like she got hired at a real company or another company.
Or got a title that anybody knows what it even means.
Chief
you know what I mean? Like, congratulations for becoming CEO of this company.
I mean,
she's promoted, quote unquote. So what is the promotion? And then it's to a title that didn't previously exist. So we don't know where that lands in the company infrastructure. But Green Room Times meme account put it best and said, say what you will about the WSL, but they are pretty good at coming up with new random job titles for their staff.
Yeah. I mean, what she was before, head of tours, which I don't think was a title that existed, and senior vice president of, or head of competition, senior vice president of tours.
And operations.
Something. It was 2 other made up titles. Like, what I don't get, I get if you want to call yourself something new, and that's fine, whatever. But to put it out on blast like it's an actual thing, to me, the disconnect between reality and make believe is pretty severe at that point. Let
me ask you, who's replacing her as the head of operations and tours, or whatever that other title was?
Nothing. I don't think it's not a real job. So
all of it's meaningless then. That's my point, is like, if you are just shifting and celebrating, but there was no weight behind the title in the first place, and there's nobody replacing you, then does it mean that job was meaningless? And the job you're doing now, like, it's pointless. I mean, all of it's it's masturbatory is what it is. All of it is. And it's so weird that they, like, looking under when you get the peek under the hood, that they actually believe it. Like, you wouldn't put that on your Instagram celebrating yourself. Like, guys, I have a big announcement. I know. I was promoted. I mean, I'm going to do it today on Beach Grit. I need to give myself a new title. What can I promote to? We could really come up with a decent one. Not a good one, a decent one. By the way, are they what I really wanted? I wanted to give this more credence than I guess we need to, because my initial thought was, I took it seriously and I go, promoted to World Surf League Chief of Sport.
Yeah.
So are they pivoting into other things? Like, so sport isn't surf. So are they going to acquire some other sport league? Are they going, or maybe they are just broadening, there is surfing, maybe they're going to bring in SUP, maybe bodyboard, like, or am I giving it way too much credence?
I mean, it's something interesting, I suppose, to think about. But like, I can't imagine for how much they have failed and seem disinterested in even running a longboard tour or a big wave tour. I can't imagine they would be hankering to put on more tours, right?
Right.
Or events. I mean,
exactly.
I can't imagine that unless that like bodyboarding is like has a sneaky core. I mean, I know bodyboarding does have a sneaky core fan base, but maybe like they've kicked the run through the weeds and seen, ooh, bodyboarding. If we could host like 5 bodyboarding tours or, around and make some money, who knows?
Maybe it could just be the sports that they already own. Like, they're identifying big wave as its own thing and longboard as its own thing. And so she's now yeah, exactly. She's no longer just in control or overseeing.
She wasn't anyway. She was senior. She was whatever, head of tours. She was head of them all before.
Yeah,
I mean, in terms of there's no, I mean, to me, like, she won some whatever game changer, sports business journal, some, I don't know, industry. Those like industry back patty stuff are so
also
weird.
So self-congratulatory, which, by the way, have they interviewed anyone who has worked with her or under her at all before they qualified her for those awards or this promotion? Because everybody who I've ever talked to would not promote her or put her in that in line for that promotion.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think that, but I've always been confused. I think I've even mentioned it before on this very show. Like, anytime I drive through, like, or especially in the past, I drive through downtown Los Angeles and see, those big office buildings, and think people are doing business in there. But what are they doing? What kind of business are they doing in there? Like, the concept of that, of a corporate structure and how you, work in the corporate structure. I mean, it all just felt, I suppose, Office Space to me, the movie Office Space, where it's random reports that you're doing stuff like that. And I suppose Jessie Miley Dyer, to her credit, here's a good thing I'll say, knows how to play that corporate game. Like, she wins fake corporate awards and garners fake corporate titles and probably makes real money and is going to get, who knows, maybe the chief of sport thing is her. She's going to go surfing, and then pivot to go be, some other sport. Who knows?
Maybe, but that makes me angry, because an underlying feeling that motivates a lot of my kind of criticism of the WSL is I feel like they are taking advantage of, they're using this thing for their own good. Like,
sure,
Eric Logan is coming in. He's using this as a stepping stone to then 5 years or 3 years into the job, 5 years into the job, go work for a streaming service or something. But what he's going to do is really ruin the credibility or the coolness of whatever surfing was before, the coreness of it. He is going to damage surfing's image. I mean, it's become about soft tops and the Ben Gravyification of what used to be, Mickey Dora or Phil Edwards or whoever it was that was kind of cool and counterculture and all those things. And by the way, hard and scary and all of those things. It's now replaced with this soft, bubbly thing, and running in wave pools and beach breaks and all that sort of stuff, that we kind of go on and on about. The opposite of what the Eddy was is what the WSL is, so much so that the WSL won't even acknowledge the Eddy. So I'm worried that that is what they do to the image in an effort to elevate their career advancement,
their own personal brand.
Yeah, exactly. And then again, as I've said before, drive it off into a ditch, throw the keys in the burning vehicle, and then take the job with a different company. a better job. And so that's what I'm worried about with Jessie as well, is if she is doing what you're talking about and then goes and works for something else, then that's a slap in the face to surfing. You know?
I mean, what I would imagine is that they, both her and Eric, have such unique, like surfing is unique in the way that nobody, I can't imagine another league or sporting thing that would put up with the clown show nature of what they do and what they put on, right? Like I can't imagine tennis saying, hey, come on over here to Jessie Miley Dyer, and then thinking, oh, no. Like everything you're doing is making this stupider.
Yeah, but the thing is, the exact little perfect angle that they're playing is nobody knows anything about surfing enough to question what they did or didn't do.
Definitely, but I can't see him ever wanting to leave. That's the problem. Is we're probably stuck with them forever because they probably full well know. I mean, that they can't go give themselves fake titles elsewhere. I mean, how bummed do you think Eric Logan is that he has CEO as his title, which is you can't really go above or beyond or around that. Like he can't promote himself anymore to like king of the world or something like that.
Well, that's where metrics, stats, I guess stats do lie and metrics do lie because they manipulate them all the time. But at a certain point, Ziff, if he wants to make a profit, which apparently there's argument that he doesn't, but if he does want to make a profit, I think he could very easily look at the track record of his employees and make a pretty objective decision on whether or not they're, worth keeping around.
But what if they are? What if they have finally? What if they have stripped down enough, like they have cut enough meat? What if Eric is actually? I can't imagine he's good at that. But what if somebody was good at that in the business? And Jessie Miley wouldn't be good at that either. But you cut enough fat, you fire enough people, everything I've heard, the way they pay people is sort of egregious. Like they expect both judges and whatever, like they don't give anybody, like there's fat cut all over, right? The mid-tour cut a lot of expense and cost. Like they've cut it down enough and they've done good enough on the brand side where now they're profitable.
They're not though.
You don't think so?
No.
You don't think they're almost breaking even? Like with more cuts coming, people getting paid less, except for the brand new chief of sport and her pay raise.
They're still sending a huge amount of people around the world 12 times a year. You know what I mean? True. Like the T&E involved in that is their biggest expense. Costs a couple $1 million to run an event. And if you don't have a couple $1 million coming in per event in terms of revenue, then the math doesn't work. What if
Apple's spending,
well, that's $5 again.
They never said it was a partnership though. That was the crazy thing, is they said they were adopting Apple Watches as their wearable.
Yeah.
But there was no like Apple signs on with WSL. None of that.
But they would not do it without a paycheck.
You don't think so? You don't think that Apple gave them free watches and said, hey, here's.
They wouldn't do it. I don't think they would. From everybody I've talked to who's tried to do a deal, there's no way they would do it for free watches.
You don't think so?
No.
Well, back to that real quick. Fully blowing it and being embarrassing. WSL. Why do you have to announce something on the real front end? Why can't you roll it out a little bit? Like where, okay, let's just put these watches on our surfers. Let's see if they work. Let's not announce anything really. Yeah. Let's give it, and then people will be curious. Oh, look at all the surfers have Apple Watches. And then you could say, oh, here's the reveal once you've worked out the kinks, and then you don't have Kaio and Leo saying live on air, these don't work.
Well, I think to a degree, it validates the WSL to be associated with Apple.
100%.
Running with those stories up front is saying like, hey, we're cool enough to where Apple wants to do business with
I guess so. And I guess it's only egg on Apple's face that they didn't work. Yeah. It's not nothing against WSL. Oh, we didn't make the tech.
Well, the thing is, we're the only ones saying that it didn't work. Apple probably won't ever hear this or see the headline. And so, they just think, I don't know. They think
I'd have to think there's somebody in charge of the Apple's, and it may be a way lower down, no chief of sport at Apple, but a way lower down who's in charge of the World Surf League account, and heard twice, not once, but twice on air on the World Surf League broadcast that the product didn't work, and the World Surf League and somebody was going to have to figure that out.
They would have to have watched 10 hours of surfing to gotten to that point, and tediously.
I've gotten emailed though multiple times on both.
I know.
Like somebody that Apple employee is in charge of that account. Somebody knows surfing and said, hey, just FYI, the surfers are slandering the product.
Yeah. Who knows?
And Carissa too.
You would hope. Yeah, and Carissa too. Well, Carissa in advance for kind of understanding the value of her brand and saying, Apple's not paying me. Why would I wear their product and promote their product? Which is smart.
Yep.
Another thing that Pam Anderson complained about, which was her not understanding any of that. And so everybody else making millions and millions off of her while she never really made that much money, which is kind of interesting.
She needed Carissa Moore as a wonderful manager.
Exactly. Another thing in WSL news that I got a number of comments about when it happened about 5 days ago was we need to do a fashion review for the WSL Awards show.
Oh, we sure do. My goodness. I've only seen some of the images, but my goodness gracious me.
I did a little recap so I can present it to you auditorily.
Great.
So Jack Robinson showed up in wrinkled white linen pant, loafers, in a blazer with no shirt. Bare-chested with a blazer.
We've talked, so I've seen Dear Jack Robinson is the one I've seen, or one of the ones I've seen. And I think he, in his Instagram post, he hashtagged or added, I think he was in an Armani. Was it Armani? I think it was Armani. It was so you cannot wear clothes and be self-aware of those clothes. You cannot do it. You have to wear them. Like, the best fashion icon is effortless. Jack Robinson was so effortful in wearing that the whole thing. I mean, Jack Robinson, and good on him for trying, right? Good on him for attempting to do something different, right? You can stay in your lane, kid from Western Australia, and just, be too scared to ever branch out. And so I fully give him kudos for branching out. And I hope that he continues to explore, but you've got to be comfortable. And so just get comfortable, I suppose, to Jack Robinson. That's my advice to Jack Robinson.
Yep. So I'll sum up I'll give you my summation at the end, but a lot of what you said just kind of tied into it. Idolo. Also, this isn't so much a stretch. It's kind of peak Idolo more than anything, but Idolo went with black on black with a white tux jacket. So black pants, black shoes, black shirt, but a white tux jacket with a black lapel, gold chains hanging out, chunky boots, which is a new trend I've seen in recent years. I don't know. I've seen the Balenciaga, I think maybe is the one leading that trend, but bulky boots.
Yeah.
And then I also never noticed before an Olympic rings tattoo on his neck.
Ooh.
Yeah. So that's not necessarily for the award show, but white. Oh, and the other thing that he had was massive belt buckle for like an Yves Saint Laurent logo. YSL, is that what it is?
Yeah, YSL.
YSL, giant gold belt buckle standing out amongst the black, and then again the white tux jacket.
Peak Idolo. Idolo, I think, was it Idolo who used to surf on the Eskimo lids, the cooler lids? Is that Idolo's story?
Ooh, I don't know.
Which one of those was that? I think it was Idolo's. He learned to surf on his dad's, like, the ice chest lids, right?
I feel like it was Idolo.
Yeah, so Idolo's like come up from rags to riches, but then this is how riches look. I'll give him okay, great. Like, it's ostentatious and in your face, and that is the new Idolo. Idolo, started from the bottom, now I'm here. He is Drake, even though Drake didn't start from the bottom.
Gabe, along with Emrod, were simply in black on black. Kelly Slater, white button down, gray twill or maybe herringbone pants with white sneakers.
I saw Kelly looked good and appropriate, minus the sneakers.
Yep. Eric Logan, pink linen pants, white linen button down.
Saw Eric Logan, and was it Jackson Baker who dressed the opposite?
Yep.
Yeah, the switch side.
Yep.
Eric looked goofy and Jackson looked okay.
Yep. Ethan Ewing, Connor O'Leary, Jackson Baker, Arcal, all just had island casual, I would say, is what
Yep.
their look was.
See,
You know, so they weren't trying that hard.
as much as I used to complain about, I mean, I used to make my living off complaining about surf award shows and the fashion worn. Like, did you ever go to the one on the Gold Coast in Surfers Paradise?
No, I think that was this. This was like
Yeah,
the
they've
kickoff
changed
of the
it here.
season. Yeah.
Yeah, they've, you know, of course. But I think at Turtle Bay, Island Casual is probably your best bet.
Totally.
Even though I'm not an island casual kind of guy, but dressing really like suited and booted on the Gold Coast, even though again it was as awkward there, like just because of the, I think the self-awareness that the surfers have. Surfers, when they put on clothing, it's very front and center in their brains, and you can read it through their eyes. I am wearing a suit. From Mick Fanning to Joel Parkinson to all of them, I am wearing a suit. At least like Griffin Colapinto in his Island Cash, he looks like this is what I wear when I dress up, which is, it's not a statement.
Well, in hindsight, kind of reflecting on all of it, I think the hard flex works if you deliver on the flex. Like if Idolo shows up like that, makes a scene, and then wins the pipe event and wins a world title, it's hard to argue with, you know? But the hard flex without delivering is a real cringy move.
Yeah.
You know? And then the flip side of that is the mellow flex and then winning everything is kind of the most badass move on the planet.
Yeah.
And so Jack Robinson, who I love and I would love to put all my money on, and by the way, is the latest athleticgreens.com/surf athlete. He is now on the Athletic Greens program, so I'm rooting for him extra hard.
My survival league pick purely based on that alone.
Oh, really? I meant to ask you about your pick.
Yeah.
So I want to bet on him for all of those reasons, but him showing up with the hard flex makes me go, oh no, Jack, like, I feel like you're right. It's not his natural state of being. It's clearly him stepping out, trying something new. And I'm like, you know what bodes well for winning events is being fully comfortable in your skin and being like in a great headspace and all that. The fact that he's trying something makes me question.
I'm going to say, being a Jack Robinson fan, that the inspiration for trying to fix up, look sharp came from the wife, right? She was like, she likes fashion, but it's, the problem is they're both real young, which is not a problem at all. This is all fine and good, but they, you know, you go to Rodeo Drive and you see the Armani store and you know the brand Armani. And so you go buy an Armani suit, right? It's that kind of thing. So, but I'm going to say that Jack trying something new, Jack's needed to try something new. He didn't win last year. So maybe mixing it up a little bit. Maybe he's got to get out of his comfort zone just a touch. And that's what's going to lead him to World Surf League glory.
Domination.
Yep.
Well, so I'm glad you brought up his girlfriend, because that's my final thought on all of this. I'm sorry, wife. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my final thought on all of this, which is something that you said to me 8 months ago.
Yep.
And I found this to be the best advice when it comes to dressing up for events, which was the focus should be on the female.
Yes.
If male and female are getting dressed up, going to events, let the female be the peacock, right? And so the men's clothing, and that's what a black tux is designed to do. It's designed to fade back into the background, into oblivion. And so he was wearing a blazer with no shirt. She was wearing kind of the equivalent. She was showing not just midriff. She was showing, it was like a cut that showed everything other than her nipples, essentially, like from clavicle down to navel and a little bit beyond navel. And she looked flawless in it. And she looked like she wasn't trying hard. She looked as comfortable in that as she would be in sweatpants or a bikini or whatever else she's wearing. And it's like, Jack, you're trying to peacock. You're not, you don't need to. No, you're the ugly duckling, actually, in this scenario. Like, back up. By the way, go ahead and focus on your surfing, because you can absolutely peacock there. But in this dynamic, you're really drawing limelight away from a superstar next to you. You know what I mean? And that's, and so when I look at the way that Kelly and Kalani, it's like Kalani looked phenomenal. Kelly faded into the background. And that's the dynamic that you should always focus on.
Definitely. I mean, I 100% agree. And if Jack wanted to wear a suit, there would have been a wonderful, even a white linen suit. Jack could have pulled off a white linen suit casually and sort of effortlessly, I would imagine. You're in Hawaii, you can wear white linen. It's all fine and good. But yeah, I mean, I will say, again, I like to see the attempt across the board, but there's a lot of just surfers. Again, I mean, I wrote it at Welcome to Paradise. I've been crowing about it forever. Surfers cannot dress. They're so, and you'd think they have the perfect bodies typically, right? Or generally they're thin fit but not like bulky. They're not.
They're the mannequin that the clothing is designed for.
And anytime you put clothes on a surfer, well, once again, the only thing you see in that surfer is I'm wearing clothes.
Yeah, totally. Well, fun discussion. The other thing that's funny is the people who post about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you would think Gabriel would actually make a post designated to this. He didn't.
No.
The way that I was able to find what he was wearing was he was in Eric Logan's post actually. Yeah. But it's like like Jack Robinson and his wife, let's take 5 selfies and make a dedicated post and tag the manufacturer of this clothing. Yep. Like, this is about us. Like, that's an interesting thing to see transitioning in our surf world, is their embrace of the celebrity.
I mean, you can always go anywhere these days and find what you need from the CEO and the chief of sports Instagram posts, where I don't know who in the world told them that this is a great idea. You being crazy out front on social media that's where people want you. That's what people want to see.
I've screenshot various things throughout the week that just blow my mind that I then ultimately don't post because I just like run out of time, or the ire or the silliness that I felt initially kind of dissipates. But there's one image that Eric posted in his stories that I just have no idea what he was thinking. It's him and Jack Robinson touching foreheads, him holding the back of Jack Robinson's neck, as you would if you were forcefully going to make out with somebody, but touching heads during presumably some opening ceremony for Pipeline or something like that.
I wrote a Beach Grit story about it.
Oh, you did? Okay,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I didn't read that.
Here we go though.
With their eyes closed, like in this, like, but so the problem is only partially like, why were they doing that? Because I'm sure Jack, like wouldn't have agreed. Like, it was Eric forcefully doing it to Jack. The problem beyond that is the photo of it. So is Eric got one hand on Jack's neck and the other hand on a camera?
Somebody else took it.
Okay. Well, at any rate, Eric did this for a photo. Or if he didn't do it for a photo, he was eager to get the photo and publish the photo.
Happy to
which is insane to me.
I mean, like this thing, I wrote about it because I found it amusing. But that it is a traditional Hawaiian greeting, right? It's in New Zealand, I think they call it the hongi, like where it's the sharing of breath, right? So this is a traditional greeting. So, okay, you have so many questions here or issues with it. I get trying to respect the culture, right? But Eric is a full-on blow-in, not only to surfing, but to Hawaii. So, it's the person coming in, wearing a lei and throwing big shocks everywhere. And then, speaking kind of pigeon. Like at some point, I get that you respect this culture. You know really nothing about it. And so for you to straight culturally appropriate something meaningful to it there's a question there, right? And then for you, it's just like that picture to me sums up Eric Logan, nicest guy, right? Eric Logan is a nice guy. Eric Logan is as clueless a person as exists on the face of this earth. He is straight up, does not have a clue, which says nothing about his likableness, nothing about the quality of his heart. Like, Eric Logan is a good man. I think he is, but he doesn't have a clue.
Which is problematic for being the person who should have a clue if you're running the World Surf League.
I mean, he should have enough of a clue that he is not the thing that's front and center.
Right.
And nobody wants him to be front and center. And so he should have enough of a clue to probably not have a social media account. I don't see a lot of David Silver, commissioner of basketball, posting selfies with players doing weird stuff, right? Like, I don't know why Eric thinks that this is good for the brand.
Yeah, the alternative thought is, if you're a visionary and you have a very clear focus, then go ahead and lead the charge on social media, i.e., Dana White, or the way that Steve Jobs used to do, or
I mean,
Elon
sometimes
Musk, or whatever it is.
Sometimes the person is the brand, right? Like
Yes.
Elon, Tesla doesn't really exist without Elon. He needs to be out front. He needs to be doing stuff.
Yeah.
I guess Eric Logan and Jesse Miley, and I wonder if there's fights, because both of them, you could tell, really feel that the World Surf League brand is part of them, or not part of them, but that they really elevate the world. So they are the World Surf League.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder if they get in scraps like, hey, come on, get out of my space. This is my World Surf League.
Man, we're going to have to dedicate this last portion of the show towards positivity to make up for all of these missteps.
I mean, it's just goofy.
It's hard. It's hard to not acknowledge the silliness.
It's just goofy. It is straight. And I every year since the World Surf League's reign, or since particularly Eric Logan's reign, I start every year thinking, I'm too negative, or whatever. This thing is probably good, and I'm just negative. I watch from the opening chirp of Joe Chappelle's voice to the various missteps over a day of surfing, and you think, this thing is ridiculous. It is, honest to goodness, a Saturday Night Live sketch. It is satirical comedy that you're right, you can't script this. This is too goofy for even the most adept of Hollywood comedy writers to pen.
I know. Well, you start feeling like, oh, maybe I'm being too negative, because it's probably very hard to do, and we don't have a lot of other examples of people doing it successfully throughout the year. And so we're like, you know what, they're probably very good at what they're doing, and it's just that hard to do.
Yeah.
Until the Eddie runs, until the backdoor shootout runs, and then you realize it's actually very easy to do if you just center the event around having great surf. Because then the technical details, we don't care if you get wrong. If you're putting spectacular surfing on the screen, we don't care about the things that are faulty.
I think Laird Hamilton is the perfect example of someone who gets poked at, from me, certainly, Beach Crit, us probably on occasion, for being goofy or doing goofy stuff. But the stuff he's doing is actually hard to do. We got a best DM ever from Laird the other day.
You did?
Yeah, Beach Crit did. Like, Derek wrote something about Laird, I don't know, sweat soaked, looking super good at however old he is, whatever. And Laird DM'd Derek and said something like that. That's the nicest thing Beach Crit ever said, or something, but like a real genuine thank you, kind of. And Derek wrote like, us nerds have to keep you jocks, knock you down a peg, or basically something like that. And Laird had just another like genuine, wonderful response, or like, like Laird, I think, is out there working hard, and I think he knows sometimes probably it comes off goofy, but he's working hard, right? I feel the league is the opposite of that.
And Laird is still dedicated towards surfing heroic surf whenever it shows up at the highest level he can,
and has a massive clue, right? He understands surfing. He understands surfing in a broader context. He understands himself in that context. He understands himself also being in a Hollywood context, and how those things kind of, I just think he gets it, right? He can look at the landscape and get it. And so both doesn't have feelings hurt, but is able to address it.
Yeah. Let's go to commercial break. I want to come back with some listener line calls and then barrel or nah. How are you doing on time?
Great.
Okay, good. Let's go to commercial break. Discuss why Jack Robinson will win the world title this year. athleticgreens.com/surf is the reason.
Of course it is. This is why I made him my Survival League pick. I know that I could have or should have held him for later, but guess what I start off every morning with, David Lee Scales?
Vim and vigor.
Vim, vigor in a jar. athleticgreens.com/surf. Shake it up, drink it down. I decided this year, I've had rough goes at the Survival League. This year I decided I'm going to treat professional surfing the same way I treat my day. I'm going to start with athleticgreens.com/surf in Jack Robinson. He's just brimming with it.
He is. So I'm wondering, what if they pick up other athletes throughout the year? That can dictate all of your picks throughout the rest of the season. They could do the job for you.
It would be unfair. I would be a guaranteed shoe-in lock to win if they picked up an athlete per event because I would definitely pick that athlete, knowing full well that athlete is going to be in peak health. The only person that can knock that athlete out is another athlete on the athleticgreens.com/surf program.
You just hope they don't match up against each other in the round of 32.
It's so true. As long as that doesn't happen, guaranteed victories.
Well, it's already an unfair game because you are fueled by athleticgreens.com/surf. And so you're already firing on all cylinders. And I mean, we reference it and how it benefits our life all the time, but once in a while, we need to take a commercial break just to remind people, sign up. It's a subscription. They send a pouch to your door. Did you get your pouch this week?
Sure did. I'm so happy to.
I got mine yesterday. It showed up, my refill, but essentially green powder made out of whole foods. Look it all up, research it on your own on athleticgreens.com/surf. But yeah, 60-day money back guarantee. So you can feel good if you pull the trigger and you're not completely convinced with everything we're saying, pull the trigger, test it out yourself. You'll love it. Nobody that I know of has ever exercised the return guarantee. But yeah, we're loving it.
Perfect.
All right, we are back. Chaz, I have a number of listener line calls that I think we need to go through real quick.
Let's do it. I'm excited.
Up for it. This first one, I got so much feedback about our little champagne talk on episode 200. And by the way, your wife even messaged me. She's like, what were you guys drinking? I heard it was really good. So I sent her a link to the exact champagne. So you might find that in your house soon. But here we go.
David Lee, Chaz, Animal Chin from San Clemente, calling in with 2 barrel or nas based on your wine discussion last week. So barrel or nah question number 1. My daily driver for wine is champagne. Big fan of Scharfenberger. I do like a Veuve, but yeah, I'm super into the bubblies. Is that like a nah or a barrel to have as your daily driver wine? Second of all, stemware. Do we hold it by the glass or do we hold it by the stem? This is an ongoing debate with my wife and I. I'm personally a stem guy. I know it's there to keep fingerprints off the crystal. That's how I use it for. So let me know, boys. Keep up the work and bon voyage.
Should I go ahead and take this or do you have thoughts?
Hit it, David Lee. I mean, just the thought on champagne for me is it's absolutely deserves to be a daily driver. I don't know why it only becomes celebratory. And then a stem, I thought you were supposed to use the stem so as not to warm the wine.
Correct. Nobody cares about fingerprints. It's totally about warming the bowl. So yeah, 2 things on stems. Absolutely hold the glass by the stem, whether it's red, white, champagne. Your body warmth will warm the wine itself. It's just a more elegant look as well. You know what I mean? Like it aesthetically works, functionally it works. Hold it by the stem, do not hold it by the bowl. And then another thought on glassware though, is we were at an Airbnb this weekend and they had those thick, clunky glasses.
Like goblets?
Goblets.
Yeah.
Freaking hate them, dude.
Yeah.
And I hate, it sounds so pretentious to be like, I only drink out of fine stemware, you know?
Yeah.
Turns out, it's not pretentious at all because sometimes I go to people's house, they have Waterford crystal, which is super expensive and that's their fancy stuff. And so they bust that out because you're having a nice bottle of wine. That mutes the flavor of the wine as well. So expensive doesn't mean it's a better glass. You mentioned it, thinness. So thick is bad, thin is good. You can buy inexpensive thin glasses that accentuate the flavor of the wine. And that's all that it's doing. So it's not pretentious at all. I could put the glasses side by side and you, listener who know nothing about wine, will be able to identify the exact same wine tastes better out of this thin glass than it does out of this thick glass.
100%.
So just get yourself some thin glasses.
Thick glass is great for water. If that's your thing. Thick glasses have a great place in this world for a lot of stuff, but not wine.
Not wine. Again, the flavor is muted. It's as simple as that out of a thick glass. So use a thin glass, hold it by the stem. That solves that. Now, champagne as a daily driver, 100% barrel. Champagne, all roads in wine, all roads lead to a couple of things, but champagne is one of them. Burgundy is another one. Bordeaux to a certain degree and Barolo to a certain degree, but all roads lead to champagne and Burgundy, really. And what I mean by that is if you drink wine regularly, if you've drunk wine for, let's say, decades on end, those are the things that you end up drinking, champagne and Burgundy, and they're cost prohibitive. So that's the reason why, I'm not drinking those things daily, but given unlimited budget, that's all that I would drink. It solves for every single occasion. And the reason why is there's an incredible amount of complexity in a very deft, lightweight package, essentially. So it has those wines, they're subtle, but they have all the complexity of big wines that are super duper expressive. The problem is when you first get into wine, a lot of that subtlety falls on deaf ears. So you gravitate towards big, expressive wines. But if you're going to be drinking wine every night, if you're going to be drinking wine for decades on end, you can't drink 15% alcohol wines that are full flavored. That would be like listening to rock music at full volume all the time. No, if you listen to music 24 hours a day, you're probably going to gravitate towards classical music at a certain point. You're probably going to understand the complexity and the sophistication of that at a certain point. It just takes a while to get there. So cut to the chase, all roads lead to champagne and Burgundy. Drink that if you have the option.
Well said.
Thank you. And it goes with everything, by the way. Champagne, among the best pairings, fried chicken goes with champagne.
Yep.
Popcorn, potato chips are phenomenal with champagne. You could also drink it with a hamburger if you want. It goes with everything. Yeah.
Yep.
So all for it. Okay. Call number 2, which turns out you might have more expertise on this one
Let's
than
see.
I. Yeah, let's see.
Hey, this message is for Chaz and David on the grit. I wanted to talk to you guys about a trend I seem to notice in that I see a lot of surfers, especially around SoCal. They end up getting married and starting families with sugar mamas. Growing up, I was close with 2 other guys and we all surfed a lot. All of us ended up being able to live near the beach because we married someone with a good job or family money. I also have a job where I know people's financial business and I see it quite a bit there too. And I was just wondering, is this just a form of, I guess, survivorship bias because it takes a lot of money to live near the beach and keep surfing with a young family? Or is it a little bit of Mickey Dore in us where we're just scamming our way into some waves? Hope you guys and our wives keep up the work.
Is there a sugar mama epidemic within the surf community?
There may well be, David Lee Scales. I will say, for anyone who is thinking they want a sugar mama or that's the path for them, if you look at it just that way, I think your sugar mama thing is going to be short-lived, right? I think that
half of everything from a sugar mama works too.
What?
Half of everything works too if it is short-lived and you get divorced.
It's true. And then it's all a wrap, right? And you're far away from the beach at that point if you're the surfer, because any sugar mama worth her salt will have you sign a prenup. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I think if you so happen to fall in love with somebody who has a house by the beach, that's wonderful, but you shouldn't go looking for it.
Yeah. I think what the survivorship bias thing that he mentioned is probably partially true. If you have 2 incomes, it's easier to live by the beach. I guess a true sugar mama would be, I don't work at all or contribute financially at all, and she does everything, and we're rich and we live at the beach. But I think more what he's talking about, because he said he has a job, is 2 incomes are required to do anything meaningful in Southern California, And I think that's my answer to that call is, it's not a sugar mama epidemic. It's just an equal playing field epidemic. And when I was growing up, I think the default was, and maybe it was just not to throw shade at my family or anything like that, but maybe it was the way I was raised to a certain degree, but it was totally copacetic to find a partner who just supports you in your goals and your ambitions. She doesn't have to work. She can be a stay-at-home mom. And what I would argue, and what I found is through, let's say, 2 decades of dating, is I don't want a supportive wife, or I do want a supportive. I don't want a wife who is solely supportive. I don't need a champion, essentially. I have a lot of ambitions and goals and direction, but I don't need somebody patting me on the back along the way and telling me I'm doing good. What I do need is somebody who understands the trials and tribulations of having all of those ambitions and goals, because they're going through it on their own as well. And they can help you problem solve. I need an equal partner who is, contributing financially because it is expensive, but also understands and can give advice for the challenge that I'm facing today.
I mean, I think more to the point, and you hit the nail on the head, is ambition, right? It's like, it doesn't need to be highly lucrative, I feel.
Right.
Like, but
Right.
there needs to be a passion for something, right?
If
Like,
she's a teacher making a teacher's wage,
yep,
that's great. That's totally,
if she's into it, right? Like, I mean, that's what for anybody, I think anybody who's locked in, and if you have a job or you're working some job that you don't love, that all fine and good. But if there's no like ambition, or to do no ambitious outlet, I feel, to me, that's a bummer. Like, there needs to be some kind of zest for life, in a way that I'm not just punching a clock and getting by.
I mean, life is long, and you're going to be with that person presumably for decades on end. And if you're betting on, we love each other and it's exciting, that's going to wear out in 5 years at max, And so that person should also be dynamic in a bunch of other ways to have something of interest for you both to kind of discuss and grow and do throughout the next 3 decades.
Beautiful relationship advice.
Thank you. And by the way, it turns out that if she is accomplished, if she had some education that, because that's an accomplishment. Getting an education is an accomplishment. If she's achieved any level of success professionally, turns out that those skills are also required and really relatable, transferable for being a good partner and being a good mother.
Yep.
So I would also argue that she's infinitely more likely to be a better partner and mother if she has navigated the real world in a successful way,
Very true.
So sugar mamas all the way.
All the way.
All the way. The final call that I wanted to play for you was from one Nathan Florence, believe it or not.
Sweet.
I know it's not actually a call from Nathan, but
close enough.
It is Nathan's voice. Our good buddy Justin J, photographer out of New York City, who has a podcast called The Plug, just interviewed Nathan Florence. I think we're going to be publishing it in the next day or two. So we're going to play this for you just as a little teaser to go over and listen and subscribe to Justin J's The Plug.
For me, it was, I leaned into that because that to me was a strength and something I showed promise in, versus like small wave technical surfing. Like it was just such a struggle and uphill battle, and I just didn't put the time in. But I knew, like, as soon as I did something in higher consequence, my body reacted in a way, my instincts were faster. I made things I didn't think I could make. And to me, that was a strength, and I was like, I'm going to lean hard into a strength. It's that age-old thing, like talent and hard work, and then you combine the two. Like, I was like, okay, this is what I'm good at, and if I lean into this and work really hard at being good at what I already have a little advantage in, then I might be able to become elite in it. And so that was part of like the decision of being a big wave guy.
Boom.
Smart. Great advice from Nathan Florence. I think that is good advice across the board right there.
Among surfing's most interesting men in this last year or two, I'd say.
Sure. No, really coming into his own, I feel.
And when you hear, I know Bad Boy Rai did a article with him on Nathan's earnings, and I think even a bit about his investments. And it was really fascinating to hear the way that he views earning potential in the surf space currently. He's kind of, him and maybe Jamie O'Brien are the guys who are like the pioneers of the way that it looks for the modern surfer.
Thoughtful young man.
Totally.
Like,
completely.
And yeah, great advice for not just surfing, but for anyone. I think if you find something you have some kind of talent at, and then double down on the hard work, maybe you got a shot.
Totally.
That's what always drives me crazy ish. Not that it ever drives me crazy, I suppose, at this point, but people who want to be like commercial actors, like who don't necessarily have a skill for it. Because what they really want is fame, right? They don't care about the craft of acting necessarily. They want to be famous, and the easy way to be famous is acting. So then, I'm going to be an actor, right? I'm going to go to Hollywood and get discovered and blah, 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 blah. Well, okay, you didn't have maybe a natural talent, or, you weren't better at anybody than that. And so come on, lean into what you actually have some talent in.
That was the other thing about Pamela Anderson in that documentary, talking about she's miffed that nobody took her seriously as an actor. I was like, that's insulting to actors. Like Meryl Streep, who's incredibly good at this thing, has opportunity because of her talent. For you to just be like, I should have the opportunities that Marilyn has, or that, Meryl has, is insane.
Yeah.
It's disrespectful.
Yep. I mean,
but
that's the real thing about acting, though, is I think anybody thinks I could be good. I could be a world-class actor.
Well, I understand why they feel that way, because there's so many terrible movies that are venerated by society. And then those people are A-list actors, like every Marvel movie, essentially. You don't have to be a good actor to be in a Marvel movie because it's all special effects. But, the actor who is famous for that is probably more famous than Daniel Day-Lewis.
Sure.
And so that's what Pamela thinks of as acting, or being a famous actor. Anyways, I agree with what you said, though, with Nathan, which is Nathan's view up until his realization was the only way to make a real living in surfing is high performance shortboarding on smaller waves. And crap, it feels like a square peg in a round hole. So to realize there weren't really professional big wave surfers up until a certain point, but for him to realize this is what I'm good at, and I'm just going to focus on this and create essentially an entire world of revenue that didn't exist for Brock Little or for Todd Chesser or any of those guys. Like, that's what I'm just going to do because I can pioneer something.
Smart.
Yeah, really good. And by the way, Justin J, we're going to give away, we'll do it maybe next week. Remember his book, HI1K?
Yes, a phenomenal book.
Phenomenal book. I have a copy. I should have brought it up here to hold on air, but we're going to give away a couple of books in promotion of his podcast and his interview with Nathan. We're going to give away 3 of those books. So to our subscribers, to our paid subscribers.
Worth subscribing, and paid subscriber gets a treat with the plug. Like,
totally.
Justin J has some of the most like every time he has a guest on, or not every time, but a lot of the times I'm like, wow, how did you get that person?
I know.
He has like big time names on his podcast.
I'm going to ask him how he does the bookings and see if he can get me a couple of guests. I want to get, somebody messaged me and said Bruce Buffer, the guy who does the announcing, is actually a super passionate hardcore surfer.
Let's get Bruce Buffer on the show.
I know. How insane would that be?
Love to talk about Let's Get Ready to Rumble.
Totally. So we'll work that angle. TM. Maybe Jason or Justin can help us. Okay. Barrel or nah? Washing the dishes before putting them in the dishwasher.
Oh man, this is a real sucker, but barrel. I've gone through 2 stinking dishwashers in the last 10 years, and the dishwasher tech will come and say, whatever, like the pump is broken, and so you're screwed. How did the pump get broken? Is because you had too many dirty dishes in here, which drives me crazy that there's a device that we made as humans that does its job so poorly that you have to do its job for it in order for it to work.
Insane.
Like, I'd just as soon get rid of the dishwasher entirely, because I'm not doing like full, like putting my elbow into it, scrubbing of the dish, but I just had the tech in 2 days ago. I
virtually am cleaning the dish entirely before I put it in. I'm using soap. Yep. I am using my elbow. I guess the dishwasher is a sanitizer, essentially.
Sure.
Like, I'm doing the cleaning, the dishwasher's doing the sanitizing, and it takes 45 minutes to do it, and it's expensive, and it breaks all the time.
And my goodness gracious me, you really hit a sore nail on its head with this one. They drive me crazy. My dishwasher, I'm frustrated. Like, when it's working, it's great, right? But you're exactly right. I'm still washing the dishes and putting them in there.
Yeah. I was at the in-laws house a while ago, maybe like last Christmas. And I'm like, I'm going to help out, do some dishes, And all it did was get ridiculed the entire time. Like, the people in the house who normally do the dishes were like looking over my shoulder, like, why are you washing them before you put them in? And I'm like, first of all, this only benefits you. Like, if I didn't wash them, then sure, you tell me to wash them, but I'm doing the additional step. So just
for you.
Yeah, for you.
Back
okay.
off.
So back off on that one. Secondly, it's like, oh no, the cups go on this rack, not that rack. Wait. No, the small plates go on this other. I'm like, I understand you do it that way.
Yeah.
But it's, you think the cup's not going to get cleaned because I'm putting, the cup here instead of the plate there? Like, what are you talking? So then I decided in my head, I go, you know what? This isn't worth the ridicule. This person has dug their own grave. I will never help out with the dishes again.
Good call.
Yeah.
Great call.
I've abided by it.
Nothing makes a house guest, though, just for a little note to listeners, nothing makes a house guest more welcome typically than a willingness to wash dishes. When I have any house guest over, or anything, for even a dinner or whatever, when they pop up at the end, like, and head into the sink, and then sometimes you say, oh, no, I got this, but nothing, like, it's really a bad look to go to somebody's house and or be staying at somebody's house and refuse to get up to do dishes.
How would you feel if I showed up as the guest, and at the end, when I stood up, I just went over and opened the front door and allowed in the person I hired to wash the dishes? And they walked over to the sink. I walked over to the table, sat back down with you, and drank some more wine.
How great would that be? That would
Baller.
be, I mean, that's what Idolo should do. Instead of getting his YSL belts, he should start hiring a dishwasher to go around with him to people's homes.
That would be the baller move.
Such a baller move.
And you'd be like, did they just show up? I'm like, no, they've been sitting there outside for the last 3 hours, just waiting to let them in.
Yep. Perfect.
That's what I'm gonna start doing.
That's beautiful.
Okay, barrel or nah, sitting shotgun in an Uber.
Oh, so no barrel. Like, the 9 times out of 10, and as they should, the Uber driver has personal effects on the shotgun seat. And so when you go shotgun, like, oftentimes I'll have to, because if you go shotgun, if you're riding by yourself, clearly no barrel, right? You're forcing this Uber driver into a relationship that he or she may want, but likely not. And you're also making them clean their seat off, right? The seat where they have their lunch, their thermos, whatever they got, right? So that's A. B, though, if you are in a family and or group of, if you're a man and a group of women, and or you are the father of a family, it is, and you're going to have to, that front seat is going to have to get used in order to fit everybody. You as the man, it is incumbent upon you to take that hit, to go and ride shotgun. That is not,
if it's the last remaining seat.
Yep. It is not like I'm saving the comfortable seat for myself. You are taking the awkward seat and putting the awkwardness on yourself, that's what you have to do as father or man in a group of women.
When Uber first started, I did not know that this was a faux pas. And so certainly the first Uber ride I was in, but maybe the first 10, I literally walked up to the car and just like, and I think I even asked, like, hey, is it cool if I sit up here? Because I thought it was the more appropriate thing to do. It'd be weird for this person to act like a chauffeur.
Yeah.
And me being in the
you
back
to
like
treat
this,
them like a service person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I just thought, no, I'll just sit up here. We'll make some small talk or whatever. And then at some point I realized they prefer no talk. Probably. I prefer no talk. So let me just jump in the back. I'll give you a bigger tip than normal, and we can all be happy with this exchange.
Yep.
But I was thinking now that Uber's been around for like probably 5 or 10 years or something, 5, 7 years, maybe. Everybody should know that's a faux pas, right?
I think so. I mean, I just think but who knows? Because it is,
I know.
It's the presumption that I'm going to treat you like my chauffeur. You're exactly right. Is a weird presumption, but it's the only one. It's the only one you can make. I would love to hear from an Uber driver. Guaranteed, we have plenty of Uber driver listeners. What is the preferred?
Call the listener line and let us know, because I do feel like there's some things that we're going to be missing here. So the listener line number is 1-760-237-0150. It's also available on surfsplendorpodcast.com. You can find the number there. But yeah, I feel like with the shopping cart thing that you brought to light a year ago, I was like, barrel or not, returning the shopping cart, thinking it's obviously a sign of a good human to return the shopping cart. And you enlightened me and said, no, actually, if you've ever worked in that scene, the best moment of that grocery store employee's day is getting out of the grocery store.
Yep.
And if they can extend that moment by having to walk to the end of the lot to get the cart, get some sunlight, get away from customers, that's what they want to do. And now I've got that explanation in my back pocket. For every time I'm at the grocery store, I'll leave the cart far away. And I'm just waiting for somebody to walk, a benevolent stranger to walk up and be like, hey, jerk, put the cart back.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, no. Now who's the jerk?
Yeah.
I'm doing them a favor, and here's why.
Yep.
And I've got the audio clip clued up on my phone. I'm going to play our episode for them.
Perfect.
Yeah. So I think that there's an element of that with this Uber conversation. Call in, let us know.
Yep.
Shotgun, barrel or not. All right, final barrel or not. From a listener, quote, last week in Bocas del Toro, I was initially jealous of my buddy's newly purchased bucket hat as my scalp singed in the Caribbean sun. However, each passing session, I became more suspect in its style attributes over the hat's functionality. The chin strap and ear covers, the removable neck flap, maybe more of a Cougar Curran, but I don't know. Barrel or not, surf bucket hats.
I'm going to say it's no barrel. I'm going to say I'll give a pass, maybe if you're bold, but to me, the surf bucket hat is visually offensive. It is visually so bad as to cancel out any of the good it might be doing in terms of, protecting you from cancer.
Yeah.
Total negative. If you must put something on your head, I'm not offended when people surf, in fact, especially if they kind of rip in trucker hats, like the trucker baseball cap thing. And I know there's mesh, it's not 100%, you're getting a little bit screwed, but the surf bucket hat is, again, so visually offensive as to be a no barrel forever, no matter what happens to the non-wearer.
I agree with you. What about the non-surf bucket hat?
On land?
Yeah.
Are we talking about, I always think it's goofy, and I always think it's juvenile. Like when I see particularly men wearing bucket hats, unless they're like a toddler, it feels like a toddler thing to do, right? You put a bucket hat on a toddler because it makes that toddler cute. An adult male in a bucket hat, and by adult male, I mean over 16, you look like you're being a toddler.
If it goes back to what you were talking about earlier about confidence, if you're even thinking about whether or not you should wear it, then you don't wear it.
Yeah.
Because there are examples like Gilligan. Gilligan's a nerd, but it worked for Gilligan. I've seen maybe Ashton Kutcher, maybe Tom Cruise.
I think Brad Pitt wore a bucket hat in a Bullet Train, maybe.
Yeah, that's right. I think you're right. So there are examples where it's like it totally works for them. It absolutely does not work for me. It absolutely does not work for 98% of people.
If I wore a bucket hat, I would be so self-aware of my bucket hat. Everybody could just see bucket hat across my face.
Yeah, I agree. It is a very specific look. If you're even thinking about whether or not it works for you, it absolutely does not work for you.
If you've thought about it, if you've thought of, bucket hat, then it's already not working.
Correct.
If you that's totally true. The 0.01% of the population who automatically puts a bucket hat on and thinks nothing of it.
Yeah.
Wear that bucket hat.
LL Cool J.
Yep.
Felted version from Kangol.
Yep. Wear it.
Wear it. Looks great. Right.
I'm not going to tell you not to.
No, and if you're not him, don't do it. Well, hey, another great show, Chaz.
Fantastic show. What's going on in Pipe? Are the ladies still in the water?
I watched a few moments while we were discussing, and then I had to pull up Eric Logan's Instagram.
His hongi.
Yeah, and it's not good. I mean, the waves are not good, and the women are in the water surfing not good waves, as they're often forced to. And look, they're going to make it through heats with 8-point totals, is what it looks like to me.
Awesome. Everybody go watch.
I mean, thrilling event.
Yep. Good job, WSL.
Yeah, Caroline Marks won Heat 1 with a total of 6.36.
Oh, I can already tell. I'm running straight in to log in.
I know. I think I'm going to finish the Pam documentary instead. All right. Well, hey, athleticgreens.com/surf. Speaking of redundant ads, linkedin.com/surf. Even though those are redundant, that's what they asked me to do. They're like, record an ad. We'll just play it on every episode. I'm like, it's less work for me, so we'll do it. But listeners, support them.
If you are the chief of sport, can you go put that on your LinkedIn job description?
Yes, you can actually.
You could say, I'm a chief of sport.
I guarantee she did it specifically for the resume.
Next week, we're going to come on with LinkedIn.com and see if Jessie Miley Dyer's chief of sport on her LinkedIn has been updated.
I'll look it up. But for anybody else who wants to, who works in a company where you're doing hiring or whatever, linkedin.com/surf. Post your jobs there. You're already on the platform. It's the best platform. It integrates through runs through the algorithm, integrates through your already existing network. LinkedIn.com/surf. Boom.
For real.
And then, beachgrit.com, providing joy and laugh for us always. And then we'll see you on Instagram. Chaz is at Surf Journalist. I'm at Surf Splendor. Really revitalizing my meme game with this pipe event. I don't know if you've seen that yesterday.
I haven't. I need to jump back in hot.
You'll have a chuckle.
Yeah.
All right.
Excited.
Until next week.
Bon voyage.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right. Have a good one.
You too. Oh.